This episode contains sensitive content. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Culture Podcast, where we uncover the hidden mechanics of high control groups, their tactics, and their impact. And we speak with the survivors who broke free. My name is Derek, and I'm your host.
My name is Trinity, and I'm also your host. On this podcast, we explore cult life as real people who have lived through the life-changing process of leaving a high control group.
We have a guest with us today. We're really excited and happy to have a guest here. This is someone that I know and is part of the family. This is not the family podcast, but it just happens to be another person in the family. And I'm always happy to have someone on the podcast that is, close and really kind of helps kind of tell not only the story of being someone, in a high control group or a cult, but also just someone that kind of shared that through a lived family experience. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Cierra.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, it's really great to have you on, and I'm really excited and really curious to look forward to your insights, your, just kind of where things sit with you on how you were brought up, and just kind of how you lived your life. I don't want to say necessarily adjacent to the witnesses, but a little bit of in, a little bit of out. I feel like from what I know of your upbringing, that's part of the story, but I'm really curious to dive into that and not only just hear your thoughts about what it was like growing up, being part of this religion. So yeah, really happy to have you on. If you could do me a solid and Trent a solid and the rest of the listeners,
Yeah.
can you share a little bit about what your life was like, the environment you grew up in?
Yeah. So I want to preface this with saying that I am very fortunate to not have been fully full-fledged like into this religion. But I am aware of like the dangerous effects that it has and like lasting effects, I would say generationally, that maybe some wouldn't expect. But yeah, so I grew up, my mom, when she had me, had married my dad. They were married at very young. My mom was signed off to be married at 17, and my dad was 21, and they're just young in love. They get married. That's what witnesses do, from what I've seen. And they didn't, they had some struggles. So my mom ended up getting a divorce, and she also, when she chose to get a divorce, she chose to leave the religion.
And what age were you?
I think I was around 2 or 3. So I wasn't
Okay.
fully aware of really things that are going on. And I would say that is a privilege. But yeah, and I'm really thankful for my mom because she chose to be brave and kind of go against, I know the trials that she's faced of like being disfellowshipped and everyone cuts you off, as you know, and kind of losing that sense of community as a single mom, I can appreciate a lot. But yeah, the effects of me growing up kind of adjacent, but more so kind of an insider outsider experience. I would say more so whenever I saw my grandparents or my aunts and uncles on my dad's side, or even my grandparents on my mom's side who are still in it.
Mm.
That's kind of where I felt the most maybe pressure or, being handed books with your name engraved on it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
and I will like to say too, your mom is my cousin,
mhm.
and of course, she's always welcome to come on if she ever wants, but no pressure. Anyone finds this time and the space to come on and kind of share their story. But I do remember going to your mom and dad's wedding, a great wedding, and I remember your dad's great little red truck, and his love for sports and football, and yeah, your dad being all in all a really great person. But yeah, there's Trent and I often talk about how there's always multiple facets to everyone, every person, everything, both the good, both the bad. In terms of your mom leaving too, I mean, your mom's incredible. I mean, your mom has been, nothing but a great person for me, and in terms of my own journey, coming out and supporting me late in life. And yeah, she definitely had to do that early on with
Hmm.
probably no support. So I find the longer we get along in this, everyone, someone having to leave this organization, thankfully, I feel like there's more and more support than ever. I don't know. Would you feel the same, Trent, or what's your take on that?
Well, I was going to say, me and you always talk about how those people who got out pre-internet, or like right as the internet was normalizing, those people had it the absolute hardest. The social pressure was never higher because you didn't have all the voices online supporting you, And so you're like, most of us were labeled as crazy, back then.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so I think it's really impressive when somebody leaves only using pre-internet or early internet tools.
Yeah, not having the same support system, and so your mom's a fighter. She's
Right.
just incredible, and I'm sure you can attest. Thankful for her and what she did to help you not be a part of this religion. Because there's these kind of these moments in everyone's life where if they reflect on them, how our lives could be drastically different.
Well, I shared before what happened to me. The moment that I really realized that the God of the Jehovah's Witnesses wasn't real was the moment I put my daughter into my own hands for the first time.
Yeah,
And watching her delivery and birth process and realizing I could never punish her the way that God has punished people in the Bible because I know her,
Hmm.
she's my kid, and that ended the cycle for me. I basically said, dude, this can't be real if he says he loves us like his children and then treats us like this. Because I'm an imperfect man and I love her so much. There's no way that he could actually love us. So I don't know, possible that your birth had something to do with her introspection that led to her leaving.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I think it absolutely did have to do.
And for the record, I'm not going to suppose much. I would love to just have her on and pick her brain about that.
Right. No, it is very,
one day.
they all have their very meaningful, but yeah, kind of sad stories.
Yeah, we were just talking on episode 7 with my sister, and the unfortunate passing of my mom.
Hmm.
Um, our lives all could have been dramatically different too. That was such a major
Right.
point in all of our lives, and it's you could think about all the possibilities and the thoughts of what our lives could be, but this is the life we have. So so it is what it is. But now you mentioned your grandparents. Um,
Hmm.
what specifically was it about your grandparents that kind of made you think or kind of sense some of these feelings?
So it was always interesting because when my mom did choose to leave the religion, she tried to set some hard boundaries with her parents whenever they would, watch me or take care of me. But those boundaries were almost never respected. So I was still, at a young age being exposed to the Bible stories, and I did go to a good amount of meetings and was pressured to, speak in the microphone.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because we just released, Derek actually did some really good art. And what was the title of that one? My book of what?
Oh my gosh, you put me on the spot. My book of
Yeah.
fear-based morality.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
A play, obviously, on my book of Bible stories.
Hmm.
yeah, but it's been resonating with a lot of people, including me. So let me ask you this. Are there any stories that you still remember, or any that maybe traumatized you, or have you been spared that?
Honestly, I feel like I've blocked it out. When Jen was talking about disassociating, I really felt that. I feel like I've done a good job of um, disassociating some, but yeah, so there's none that stand out at this moment.
That's okay. I was just curious.
It's really weird because I don't know, like my external take, because I've never been part of other religions, but I feel like there's like a separate area where kids go, and
Hmm.
they're kind of learning Bible stories and different things. It's like, no, like we sat in the main hall and got like the intense shit
Yeah.
at an early age. And then the books we got as a youth, like, my book of Bible stories, is like crazy. Like,
I remember.
I justifiably understand why most kids might block this stuff out, because it's like there was not a really good filter for these stories to, like, I don't know, for like a young person. It's like we see movies and stuff, and it's like, yeah, this is rated PG, and it's like they had a bad rating system.
They really did. They released it all to everybody, even the kids, and boy, traumatizing.
And I remember there was one time when I went over to one of my grandparents, and it was like a Bible study with me and my cousins that I had. And yeah, I remember him reading the story and like looking at one of my cousins, and like that just did not make any sense to me, like whatsoever. Like it seemed, I remember it did seem kind of unruly and like brutal for some reason, and having questions about that.
And how old were you?
Um, I feel like I was probably like maybe 7 or 8, and just like not really,
Mm,
like I understood the story,
yeah.
but like not understanding why.
Was there anything in your mind at that young age where you were like, why are my grandparents into this? Like, why are they so into it? And I mean, my mom's not. Was there any type of or my father is really into this? Was there any type of mindset of like,
Mhm.
I don't know, like obviously at an early age, you don't necessarily know these concepts, but you're like, I'm living in multiple worlds here. What's going on?
Yeah, it did feel like a lot. I would say that I did adjust to it. I've always been an observer, so like going to a Kingdom Hall was not something that really made me like uncomfortable. Um,
You just enjoyed the people watching, maybe?
yeah, it was the pressure to speak, or it was the pressure to go mingle and speak
Yeah.
to young men, and or something like that, that I did not like.
Do you remember what it felt like for your grandparents and maybe your father? Do you remember what it felt like to them, as being kind of labeled as being in the truth or being a Jehovah's Witness? Do you know how that was expressed to you when you were younger?
Like the truth, just the idea of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and just them attaching to this religion. Like, do you remember kind of the thoughts of like how your dad expressed this to you? Like, was your dad and also your grandparents, because that's part of it
Mhm.
as well. Um, like, were they really hardcore about this is the truth?
So with my dad, we actually never really had like a personal one-on-one relationship, I would say. I probably only saw him like once a year, but he was pretty absent in my life. I saw his parents and his siblings way more. Um,
Can I ask why he wasn't around?
I think he struggled with the religion. I think he has now passed away. Rest in peace. But I think he really did for a lot of his life struggle going back and forth in and out of kind of like what he was supposed to be, but that was never his true self, is kind of how I've taken it and have heard like his siblings have taken it. He's always been described as like the black sheep, and like he was the one that was kind of rarely attending meetings, and they were trying to get him.
But did he believe that it was true?
I think because he was raised in it, he felt the pressure, and he liked, I think in some sense there's some security in having an organized religion where it's like you get married, you have your wife, you have your kids. And like I think he battled with the pressure of once having that and then
Not having it anymore.
kind of fucking it up and not having it anymore.
That can be a hard thing on a man for sure. Losing your whole family
Hmm.
in one go, it hurts a lot.
Well, it's a battle too. I think a lot of people face in the religion or any cult or any high control group, where you battle with identity because you deep down are like, I don't align with this. But
Well, we had talked with Nadia too about how the mask goes on for the meetings and how the real self is the one you are when you're not in meetings. and then you're putting on this mask when you're around everybody,
Mm.
and it's hard. It can be really hard on some people, and then some people feel guilt when they wear the mask or when they don't wear it, you know?
I feel like that is really spot on because whenever I do have like some hurt and I had some trauma from like when I would see him and it would be at a meeting, it would be like the first time I've seen him in like a year or this year. And he would like pretend to everyone that he's been in my life for that whole time and kind of like show me off as his daughter, which was confusing to me at the time, but also would hurt even more when the people of the hall didn't know that he had a daughter who's grown.
Mm.
So you're aware, and what age would you say that you became aware of this?
That all of that was happening so young. I would say like 5, 6 through.
Oh.
So even at that age, you're able to see, man, my dad is like not going to meetings, and he's kind of showing me off and making this fake life. You knew that at like maybe 6? Ugh.
Yeah, up until like I think 11, 12 is when I just went into my angry phase and
Hey, we all have an angry phase. It's all good.
We sure do.
yeah, like not kind of messing with any of that after kind of experiencing that.
Do you recall moments with your father where attempts were ever made? Like, was there an attempt on him to actually try to have a relationship with you, despite maybe battling with his own depressions or identity? Was there anything there where you remember?
There were attempts. So I think there were definitely years where he was in and out of just one foot in, one foot out kind of way of whenever he would see me, it was gift related. Like I feel like gift giving was something
Yeah,
like just a way that he showed love.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's challenging. Like the older you get, you do start to realize, I don't know, more sides to things. Like you start to realize your own personal, issues or traumas or upbringing, and then you kind of start to relate it. You just take in more knowledge and you start to get a bigger scope of things. And I can't speak for your father, but I'm sure, amongst many battles, him trying to figure out, the relationship with you is one of them. Whether or not he was, victorious or not is another conversation. But
yeah, and I think also too because I my mom did get remarried when I was 5, so ever since then I was kind of being raised by my stepdad and that I just know had its lasting effects on
yeah.
his, self-esteem.
And with this other father figure in your life, like how do you view him?
Yeah.
I remember like being unsure at first. I didn't like that things were changing and I didn't like sharing my mom. But I did get warmed up to him like
Mm,
pretty quickly and like I was the one who ended up like
yeah.
calling him dad. So I associated him as my dad. Yeah.
Oh.
Cute. Love that.
Well, and from my external opinion, I see him as just being a great man, a great person, a great father.
Hmm.
I don't know him, but apparently he stepped the fuck up, which is like king shit.
Yeah.
I always say stepdad, step up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Hmm.
Yeah, and he's welcome on the podcast as well whenever he wants to say his story because it's a unique perspective on all sides, and there may be conversations we have where it's like wow, these people have been through some horrible shit, and then there's other conversations we have where it's just more perspective of things, different angles, so I'm welcome to have him on as well. But that's what I've seen from him, through this process with your mom, how growing up and kind of leaving the religion, having those battles, raising kids, because you have, some siblings as well, and, dealing with, um, her parents and your grandparents and your father, how was your viewpoint of your mom during this time frame?
When I was younger, I always just thought she was really strong. She's very just outgoing, go-getter, Leo energy. She owns that room whenever she walks in, which is something that I think I've always recognized as just, I think I definitely got more of my dad's quiet. reserved, brooding personality. So I think I'm a balance of both. But yeah, I always admired that about her. And like I said, the strength that she's had to leave the religion, to get remarried.
So I have a question.
Yeah,
So she left the witnesses and soon remarries. I'm wondering, did they ever try to replace the witnesses with another kind of religion? Or maybe I asked that wrong. Are they religious?
I was raised as like Protestant Christian. My mom did um like the idea of having, she did introduce me to like God when it was just me and her. I think like the first time I ever got really scared, she taught me how to,
She taught you how to pray, you cut out there.
yeah, she taught me how to pray. So she's kind of always instilled like those beliefs in me. She's kept those herself. So I was raised going to like very, I would say, like wishy-washy Christian.
Mm.
Hmm.
Was stepdad going, like, were y'all going to church? Were y'all like, I'm just curious if you had other experiences that you could measure the witnesses by.
Yes. So I probably started going around sixth grade. So at this time, I'm pretty angsty, I'm pretty angry, I'm pretty rebellious. So they thought it'd be a good idea to introduce me to like the teen services at this Christian church. And I got into it, but also kind of always was one foot out because of my previous, like, I've just had the JW experience back in my mind that I'm already at this point, like, kind of standoffish to religion. Um,
Wow.
yes,
So your family is religious and spiritual, and because of what you experienced from the witnesses, you're kind of liking it, but you still are put off by the stuff you saw as a kid.
yeah, just 'cause, like, I
Wow.
didn't trust all of it. Like, I knew it was there, but a part of me just was kind of always detached, which I feel like is also my dad right here.
Yeah, and trauma will do that to you, especially
Mm.
religious trauma.
Yeah.
What, in your mind so do you did you are you would you consider yourself a Christian now?
Um, I don't identify.
Is it complicated?
It's so complicated. I don't identify as one thing really. I'm very spiritual. I'm very into everything, I would say. I do believe in Jesus. I do believe in like the Trinity, but also I don't believe in organized religion at all. And finding my own way of things, my own spirituality. I also am kind of witchy, so I do that kind of stuff. So it's just, I don't identify as one thing.
I think that's kinda where
Yeah.
I land. I think a lot of people land is once you start to really think about how you want to inhabit this world, uh, you start to just land on what feels right for you. And even if it's an amalgamation
Hmm.
of many things.
I love that word. That's one of my favorite words.
I did it for you, Trent.
Thanks, man.
Um,
So
I
with all the
I
people
just
we talk to, it seems that the enlightenment phase where you can keep on autopilot for the rest of your life is when you're spiritual and just like searching for it,
Hmm.
or just at peace. Peace can replace spirituality for some people.
Hmm.
But it just seems like there's this level people hit where they're like, "Man, I don't know if I can commit to one way of seeing God or one way of worshiping. I think I just need to figure it out what feels good for me."
Hmm.
And I personally felt the happiest when I got there.
Right.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. So if you're looking back on some of the stuff, this upbringing, do you, what were some of the major moments of tension for you? What were some of the major moments where you were like, because I definitely want to dive into some of these thoughts you had, if you're willing, where it's like this created problems. Like, can you think of moments in time where you're like, this religion did this, or because of
Either witnesses or Protestants, you know.
yeah, yeah, or because of my upbringing, having a father in and grandparents in and my mom out, what were, if you're willing, what were some of these moments that really created tension and issues for you?
Honestly, I feel like most of the in-house issues were like the secondhand trauma I was getting from my parent that was raised in the religion.
It's
Yeah.
it's extremely valid. It's
Valid.
valid. We said the same word, jinx. You can't.
Jinx, owe me a Coke.
Shit.
Um, yeah, hearing the lasting effect, I was very exposed to all of this, I would say at a young age. She like exposed me to a lot, but I think just in the witness culture, you are exposed to some really dark, crazy things at a young age. But then kind of, you know, knowing that I was being raised in a privilege my entire life was kind of like also I was expected to remember that. And at times, it doesn't always feel like privilege.
Are you able to expand on that a little more?
Yeah, um, I would just say that like it's like comparing trauma. Like
Sure.
if I had a concern or anything that happened to me, or like if me and my mom would get into fights, it was just, never like you should be grateful, like just very dismissive, I would say, just because I did not grow up the way that she grew up. And I know that you guys have all faced terrible things, but kind of comparing the trauma of a child who doesn't even understand kind of what they're going through.
Yeah, I think you learn it's like everyone at every phase of their life is trying to figure this shit out. And everyone has their own levels of damage. Like we generally genuinely create our world in our own brains based on our environment and what we've been through. And it's like the classic thing, like, right, you date someone that's like, oh, they're too much like this, so you overcorrect. And then you date someone that's like completely the opposite, and you're like, shit, that wasn't good. And then you try to find someone in the middle.
Hmm.
And Trent and I often talk about the middle path being so important to having that balance.
I know, very different.
And it's
Yeah,
like the unfortunate thing is, like, can you imagine your mom now raising you as a child? She would be much better, much more equipped.
right.
But she only got to a level of clarity and understanding through age and wisdom and experience.
Hmm.
And it just sucks because we don't get to that place without getting through it.
What I find just crazy thinking about tension is truly you were shown some witness culture. Like it sounds like you weren't even going all the time, but you were shown just like private moments at home with witnesses and sometimes meetings, and you still walked out of there with trauma.
Yeah,
Like, couple, you go to how many meetings do you think you've been to in your life? Like half a dozen, 2 dozen?
no, I would say maybe like definitely less than 50.
Okay, okay, 50.
Yeah, but
Okay,
and like the memorial was something that I feel like I've almost gone to, like almost most of the years. I'm 25,
Everyone,
so
yeah.
okay.
most of the years.
Well, I guess then I take that back. It sounds like you did have a pretty good peppering of witness dogma in your life.
If you were to look back and go, like, this witness thing and joining this religion would have been, I don't know, much easier, much better, or I don't even want to say take sides, but take sides of my grandparents and my father and join this
Hmm.
religion. What would you say were the things that made it where you were like, I don't believe in this. I don't believe in this because of maybe these people or these things that I saw? Like,
Hmm.
what were the things that really, even at a young age, where you're like, this doesn't align?
I think hearing my mom's story and hearing the abuse that she's endured from the religion and the generational trauma she experienced from it was a clear indicator. But also, it is, I did learn to put on that mask like very early on for my other side of the family because they're also my grandparents and, they're buying me the stress to go to the meeting and um, stuff like that. So, but yeah, I did walk out of there with no interest in actually joining that religion. I had a very clear of like, this is just, I'm just here.
Yeah. I feel like it's crazy. I feel like if the people that were trying to make you be part of this thing were better people to some extent, it would be easier, like in terms of your grandparents, if you were to look at them and be like, I see you. I see you as a person. I see what the work you're putting in. I see your faith. I see you live it in action every day. Yes, hiccups happen, mistakes happen, faults happen. We're human. But the full picture and package goes like, gosh,
Hmm.
they're living a wonderful life built around faith. I feel like it would be easier to
Hmm.
I
follow.
100% agree with you. If the social proof that they gave behind closed doors matched, the witness stuff, wow, that's
Hmm.
people do see that. And I will say, when I lived as a witness and when you lived as a witness, people would see the homogeny in our life and respected us for it. I mean, I would have people comment, all the time about, wow, like, look at how you're living. Not saying that to brag, but it is self evident.
Hmm.
And when you're living life as a good witness, you want your faith to be self evident, and you're working on that. So I guess what I'm saying is, when we're kids especially, we can sense those vibes, and a lot of the kids end up being traumatized instead of just vibing out with good vibes within the witnesses.
Right. I did I did find myself respecting the young adults. Like, for example, Gork was on the podcast and he's my uncle. And he, talked about his younger days of being in it. And I had many cousins and aunts and uncles that were young adults in the religion. And I always respected them way more than the adults or the elders or even sometimes my
I
grandparents.
can attest that Gork is a respectable motherfucking man and brother.
Yeah.
And that's why, because he lived it and he still lives so good.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's an example of someone that even though he's younger, did get out earlier. Not as early as your mom, obviously, but it's like, gosh, even that far away is like, I mean, there weren't podcasts like this and many of the others and communities and groups, Facebook groups like Reddit,
Hmm.
where people felt like they had a community. Like that shit didn't exist when Gork was coming out. That, especially when your mom was coming out.
Right.
And so sometimes you have to you face it alone, and your mom, specifically is like, she had her shit, she had her trauma,
Hmm.
and she, had no choice but to try to drag you out of it as much as possible. And I am really am so grateful, that she did, and your other siblings are, just have echoes
Hmm.
of what that whole world is all about.
Right.
But you faced a little bit of it. What is there anything else maybe that we want to touch on when it comes to that? Anything things that else come to mind?
Um,
Let me ask this while you're thinking. Was there ever tension around holidays with you, like Christmas, your birthday, anything like that?
for some reason, my grandparents, they'd never really put that pressure on me. They did put it on my mom still throughout the years. But I think because I was a kid and I was already not being raised in it, they didn't feel that pressure to put on me. Maybe maybe that was them sparing me. I don't know. But I
I
know,
was just going to say, it sounds like they were trying to spare you.
oh, I mean, a little, they were trying to spare me, I think, the confusion of it all. I think their strategy was just be welcoming, be inviting, show her what it is. They did really try to sell me on like paradise with animals.
Yeah.
But besides that, yeah, I did not thankfully get like a ton of like pressure.
I think it's really sad. Like if you really look at, who our parents and grandparents have become in their elder years, it's really fucking sad.
Oh, I know.
Um,
It's hard to talk about it openly too because it's an acknowledgement and it can feel like judgment, you know. But we're seeing, I can think of so many examples of the people that are my elders
Hmm.
not doing so hot at that.
yeah, and I don't even say sad to say like like as derogatory.
Right.
Like I literally am saying it's like really sad if you're to see the state of affairs with their life, how they're living, um, despite many mistakes, like they're still clinging to this. And the older you get, when you start to really recognize mortality, you're like, I got to cling to something,
Hmm.
because death's door is just knocking. Um,
Yeah.
I'm
you know,
only 36 and I'm feeling that, brother.
yeah, 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 and it's really sad. It's like you lock in. You're like, despite my many failures and many mistakes, this is what I got to hang my hat on. And that's just my opinion, my view.
Hmm.
Um, behind closed doors or whatever, like it may be like they're thriving, they're doing their thing. That's just not the way I see it. Specifically with some close family members who are older.
Yeah, it is concerning. I worry about the isolation because, I mean, I have four grandparents, and even I have six grandparents with my stepdad. It's parents who have taken me, but four out of the six are not present in my life, and I associate it with the religion because they choose to be isolated in that, and they don't make an effort. They really haven't since I've been a full adult.
The problem is it's the us versus them mentality that is learned, and they never truly are given the opportunity, again from my opinion, to create realistic relationships. They're waiting for the new world to do so. They're waiting for the connective tissue to, like, finally we can live the real world, the real life. And for anyone that's not genuinely connected through the religion, we got to keep our distance. Like, we're not certain of if they're going to be a danger to us and to making it into the new system of things.
But what I find interesting is like the ease of trying to, what's the word? Inculcate. That's the word.
Inculcate.
Uh,
What a JW word.
yeah.
Well played.
They want to do that. They want to give young children, I can't, they're the Kool-Aid, they want to give it to young children. But then when's the last time they tried to get you to a meeting, or when's the last time they preached to you as an adult?
Well, I recently saw one of my grandparents a couple weeks ago. It is from my dad's side, so I saw his mom. And the last time I talked to her was right after my dad passed in like maybe 2020. So, a significant amount of time has passed between that. And it was just kind of like, it was nice, but it was kind of awkward just because I feel like we are strangers living in two different worlds in a sense, even though I grew up around her.
That is so sad because I just see them trying pretty hard to get you young, and then it's like they realized maybe that wasn't going to happen. And I don't know. This is such a hard thing to talk about because I know you have love for all of these people, and I'm a stranger, right? I'm not casting any stones at all.
Hmm.
I just am aware of cognitive dissonance, and it's kind of interesting. Like, if I wanted to convert a child, I would keep it up after they were grown,
Right.
So to me, it's just like, maybe this was just like, maybe there was a talk, one day that made them want to read the book of Bible stories to you. Like Derek mentioned this sometimes, like witnesses go through these flavors of talks,
Hmm.
and you can usually tell what talk they heard based on what text you're getting from them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's just interesting. And
Yeah.
it seems that the witnesses are still very present in your life,
Oh,
and just not in a good way, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, that another thing we've touched on before as well is lost time.
Yeah.
It's like you're still relatively young, but like you won't get back early memories of having, loving grandparents. And me, for instance, I will never get back the time of being a part of your life when you were younger. We've only established more of a relationship now as we're both older. And it's like that shit only happened because I was in and you were out.
Mhm.
It's not a lack of me wanting to not be close to family. It's like it's just literally like I'm taught like, hey, if they're not in, they're against us to some
So
extent.
if you're not in, you're out.
You're out, and it's horrible.
And you're supposed to, I want to say too, like,
Mhm.
there's no judgment here, okay? We're just talking about Sierra's life.
I just wanted to say that, like, yes, while I am like, I feel like I'm a good job of being dissociated from it, but also still having the experience in it, which talking to some of my cousins now, they've like validated that for me, and they do like sometimes like I'll get kind of a different pressure of like maybe since you have both experiences, you are the only one to like make it make sense to those people because I'm also very respectful still of it and empathetic whenever like I'm asked to go, I will go.
Mm.
I don't know why. It's just something that I'm like comfortable doing still, even though I don't agree with it.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because one of the things I always found interesting is the once per year pool to get all the family together for memorial. It's chaos, it's disconnection, it's whatever battles, whatever connections, whatever, we're on each other's side, we're against each other, and then memorial comes around, we're all going to memorial.
Dude, I have a story about that. So, like, COVID 2020, we're locked in our houses, and I was out. I left in 2018, but I performed a memorial in my one bedroom apartment with my ex wife and her partner and my daughter and my partner at the time. And I passed the wine and did the loaves and everything. And it was crazy because I was like, wow, this is the last memorial I'm ever going to do. And I so much enjoyed that a lot of the people there were considering themselves witnesses at the time. And for some reason, they felt comfortable with me still serving the emblems. And I was like the only brother there. It was just a really unique experience. It was my last memorial. And I always loved memorial too. I would like shine my shoes and
Mhm.
go all out, and I would read the Bible reading beforehand. As they do the Bible reading is like you can start following Jesus like the week of his death.
Hmm.
And so I don't know, just thought I'd share that.
Nice.
I don't know if I've even told you about that, Derek.
No, and it's interesting because I also remember my last memorial. uh, I may go back, just the farther away.
Maybe we go together when I visit you.
Yeah, and partake, just for shits and giggles.
I love this idea.
Because
Just like wreck the whole ceremony on
well,
accident.
I'm never gonna be that anti apostate, just anger fueled driven person. But it would be just, funny, who knows, down the road. Because that's generally, every person that's told me that they were anointed and everything I've heard from is just a feeling.
Yeah, and boy, I
So
sure do
maybe
feel it.
maybe I just have that feeling now that I'm anointed. Um, but yeah, that that was something I remembered, um, as just being interesting. The memorial always brought everyone together, and I would love to hear your take, Sierra. Because you have been to so many memorials. What is your thoughts on the memorial talk? Do you disassociate every one of them?
Um, I mean, I feel like honestly, it's always just gone in one ear and out the other, if I'm being completely honest.
So you're there for the
No,
vibes.
literally, when you were talking about that, I was like, yeah, that's been me my whole life. It was crazy to see like relatives drinking from the cup because I knew you never drink from the cup. Um,
Hold up.
yeah,
Wait a minute. That's a revelation. So you had family members partaking. How many?
just one. But
Okay, wow. Even that is
I knew you, and I knew especially this specific person should not be doing that.
oh.
Yeah.
So just to put
It,
this in context, we had just had an episode where we talked about memorial, and it's very common to just see the emblems, the red wine and the unleavened bread passed around, and zero partake. It's the kind of thing
correct.
where if you partake, the elders are coming to talk to you afterward to confirm that you're anointed. So it's actually a process. If you drink of those things, you're signaling, I think I'm one of 144,000 people that have been taken, 12,000 each from the 12 tribes of Israel.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I'm, part of the one of the old 12 tribes by blood or some
How
association.
deep are you going with this?
Well, this is just the surface level, you know but it's pretty crazy partaking. It's like you're immediately an influencer in the JW organization. You can write them about dogma changes and updates and say that they're new light that God has given you because God talks to you now because you're anointed.
This is bullshit.
Yeah. And I just want to say that that memorial that I did go to in 2018, the reason that it was my last one again was because of that thought of my daughter. I was
Mm,
thinking it actually made me so sad because I grew up loving Jesus. I loved him like a brother. And essentially, it wrecked me because the whole talk, they were talking about how much Jesus loved the sons of men. He loved the sons of men more than anyone. He said that was his favorite creation. So he came down and gave his life and gave his blood so that our blood could be redeemed. And then I was like, what is
Mhm.
the point of that sacrifice and redemption if the brothers around me can't even forgive that I'm wearing a beard now?
Mhm.
mm.
That was just a crazy moment for me where I was like, if Jesus loved the world so much and he loves men and he wants us all to live, why are they kicking me out over my beard? Like, this can't be legit.
Yeah.
So then, August 2018, I was out.
Yeah, and for you, it was like obviously a logical debate where it's like this isn't in the Bible. And the interesting thing too is you find many people. Well, everyone kind of has their own thing, like what leads them out.
Yeah. My beard.
your lore is always going to go back to Beard Town, but
Yep.
it's and I think it's a lot of that for men. The more men we chat with, there's kind of these fallacies and things, and the women, for the most part, again, this will change over time the more people we chat with, but just maybe how they were treated, the abuse. It's just everyone's going to have their own thing, and for what your mom went through, and by proxy what you went through, it's your own unique experience, and it's complicated.
So
It's just
complicated.
like it's really tough because even the echoes of some of the stuff you dealt with growing up are still going on today.
I was going to ask, how do you make sense of your upbringing today? And I am curious because you've had a lot go. We've crossed a lot of ground, and you're not even baptized.
No, I'm not
So
baptized.
you've just been loosely affiliated with JW family your whole life, and we've talked about so much. And so we kind of hit on it, but how do you make sense of it all as the person you are today?
I really find comfort in creating my own peace, protecting my own peace, but also my spirituality in some ways too. Like, um, I have a very open mind and open heart, so I'm just,
Ooh, love that.
I feel like because I've been raised, exposed to so many religions, I also have like some Catholic knowledge and stuff like that. I really just lead with my heart on my sleeve, and that's kind of like my own truth, basically. That's how, but it does have its lasting effects, I would say daily, because I do go back and forth. Like you want to identify as something, so it does have that downfall, but like I said, finding peace in really just myself and my heart.
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
Hmm.
I did remember too that we touched on it a little bit. Your father's passing. Um, I mean, obviously that had to have been a very tough time and a very complicated and emotional time. I do have memories of being on, because it was during COVID, being on that Zoom call for his memorial service.
Oh, thank you.
Um, was there any kind of memories or thoughts or feelings you wanted to touch on with that?
Yeah, I feel like obviously that was a super tragic event to happen and definitely threw me off my course of life, I would say, for the next few years after that. But I feel like now where I'm at, I just I feel like he is serving me more in a way than he really ever did being here. Um, kind of feel him as like a protector or like a force, kind of always nearby. Um,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
but yeah, I mean, it was difficult right after it happened because I got reached out to by so many witnesses, and really their only advice is that, he's sleeping and you're gonna see him again. And that's
Doesn't
not
that suck?
at the time what I
That
believed.
shit really
Yeah.
burns me up. Like my some family member was trying to pick me up one and said something like that, and I just lit them up because it's so cruel. They're just asleep. You'll see him again. Like it's such
In a way, it's very dismissive.
it's so dismissive, and we don't know that that's a true statement,
We don't.
and neither does the person who's being told that.
Right.
It's like sell you. It's like an attempt to just sell paradise on someone at their most vulnerable, and also incredibly dismissive. And so they don't even process death the way that most humans do. They
No,
don't have the
they
same
don't.
grieving process as most humans do because they're living in a fantasy world. To be real,
Right.
at least I think that you cannot prove that paradise is real, or because then you have to prove that Armageddon's real, and then you have to prove that God and Jesus are real beyond a shadow of a doubt. There's a lot of things that you have to believe are real to believe that deaths don't matter. I'll see them again soon.
Right.
And no human is hardwired to think like that. Most humans are all hardwired to think death is final, it's scary, it hurts, it's painful. I want love and support.
Yeah.
Hmm. Right. And before my dad passed in January 2020, in like October or November, my cousin that I was close with had just taken his own life. So and that was like my first time ever experiencing the concept of death was my cousin, and then like not even 5 months later, it was
I am so
my
sorry.
dad.
That is so hard. Two in a row in 1 year like that is so painful.
Yeah, so like those comments of like he's just sleeping, you're gonna see him again. I was like, well, no, because I know like I it was my second time, experiencing death now, and I didn't believe that for the first time, so why would I believe it
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing I would love more to be surprised
now?
of that to be the truth,
Right.
that yeah, when they pass or I pass, I wake up or we're kind of inhabiting the shared new reality together. It's horrible. I mean, I've talked about in the past death for me when I was a witness, when I was in it, it was a lot easier to talk about because I did have that hope. And
Hmm.
I can understand, any person being into religion, not even necessarily a cult or a high control group, but just, believing in the afterlife. It is an easier kind of comforting hope to give someone.
Hmm.
But it's challenging. It's like, if you don't know who you're speaking with, you have to understand that your hope doesn't align with mine.
Hmm.
There's a self-awareness that is required to think that way of like, how am I going to approach this person about their grief? And to me,
Right.
Yeah.
that's empathy. It's like I think about like for instance, Derek, your mother. I never knew her, and I made a your mother joke to you one time, and you were like, "My mom's dead."
Yeah.
I was like a teenager, and it hit me, dude. I was like, I apologized profusely. I've always respected
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then I learned,
Oh.
hey, you might not want to make assumptions over who's alive or dead in someone's life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's, I just can't believe that that's the witness way of like, it's okay. You're going to see him again. They're
Well,
asleep.
and you have to understand, like, if you're going to be in, you have to be all in. So, of course, that's their belief.
It's almost like it's them reaffirming it to themselves when they say it. I don't know.
Reaffirm, but it's also a constant. Like, we got to not be blood guilty and bring as many people in as possible. So, you're also taught, like, someone who's in mourning, someone who's, I mean, how often did we go in service and be like, oh, these certain communities are going to be productive. because they have reasons to convert. Really, expensive communities, your Scottsdales, they were not going to have any results. But you go into these other communities where you can see like, oh, and man, boy, would people light up at the door if just happened to be like, oh, my father just passed.
Do you want to see them again?
Oh my gosh, do you want to see? Yeah, it's like built into it. It's like this is an opportunity to convert, and it's very sad,
Yeah.
but that's what they're trained.
I was also going to say, playing devil's advocate, I think a lot of witnesses 100,000% believe that to be true.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then a lot of witnesses will say that out of good faith because they believe so strongly. And I also know that's true too.
Yeah, yeah, it's totally understandable.
Yeah.
It just like you said, they don't understand that there is another view. They just
Right.
genuinely don't believe
Yeah.
that there's room for interpretation of
I
reality.
actually I think it's that they won't acknowledge other forms of view. I think that they know other views are out there for the most part, but they just don't want to acknowledge you at your level.
I can see that. I think the only terms of acknowledgement would be to then counter.
Exactly, because they can't just accept,
Mhm.
the death. They would have to speak up for their faith.
Yeah. I do want to point to. I remember when you were on that Zoom call, how how powerful your words were for me.
Thank you.
And how strong I felt you were and brave. Because we've mentioned it before, a normal Jehovah's Witness funeral or memorial service is ridiculous. You never get people up there that are given a moment to speak and say their thoughts and words.
I'm glad you brought this up. Thank you.
It's something where, because it was during COVID,
Yeah.
this is a different time, and so for people, you were given space to say your piece on this Jehovah's Witness memorial service, and you took it.
I want to hear about it. Will you please tell me what you said?
Yeah. I was gonna say, this is probably one of my proudest moments, just for me personally. So my aunt and uncle were in charge of doing the service, so they did give me, a couple, I think like 2 to 3 minutes to speak. It's something that I did write out beforehand and kind of prepared, but when they offered me that opportunity, it was just like without a question, like yes, even though, to be honest, like I didn't really have much of a relationship with this guy. And I was angry, I was sad, I was all the emotions about that for years prior. So I really did want to take this opportunity to say my piece. And I basically, in a very respectful way, I tried to tell my truth and tell my story, and basically just that, he wasn't super present in my life and kind of how that affected me, but also the ways that I still appreciated and honored him, with specifically like sharing his last name and identifying as a Torres, which I still do. But yeah, I just tried to be honest and truthful, and I received a lot of very sweet, positive feedback afterwards of like people who related to the story, about, just having an absent father, but still having like a really kind of hopeful view about it. I don't know. Was there anything specific that stood out to you, Derek?
Well, I thought you were just very eloquent in your words, and I think that anyone could choose any lane of being maybe a little bit more aggressive or assertive in their tone and kind of how they want to present, or maybe really the other way where not much is said other than kind of the just surface level things. And
It was the truth.
I just remember like you're saying what needs to be said. You know, you're s- you're s-
The quiet
you
part out loud?
yeah, you were genuinely saying the truth, and what I remember about every JW Memorial service I went to,
Yep.
it was never the truth.
A time to
It
preach.
was always just, here's an elder that goes up there and says all these things, and this person was a faithful servant to the end, and
Mhm.
you know everyone that's listening or here, we want you to also be a witness as well. so you can be with this person in paradise. And then that's it. And I just remember thinking like I was already waking up at that moment. I was already,
Mhm.
on my way out, but I just remember thinking like, wow, she did it. She said what needed to be said in the most respectful tone and possible way. Yeah, so it really touched me. So I was very thankful to actually hear true authenticity in that moment. That because that's life. Like it's it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and it's not perfect. And but your dad
Thank you.
was a mix of everything from what I saw.
And I'm glad you saw that.
And yeah, so it was really beautiful. So
Thank you. Yeah,
I'm glad I got invited to that service because that was really impactful.
And good on you. Sounds like you killed it.
I'm so glad that I was given that opportunity.
It's so crazy how just because of like just the function of a Zoom meeting, you were able to finally get space to speak your mind.
Yeah, after years of like not having a relationship with this guy.
Did any of them approach you afterward and like have thoughts?
Oh yeah, I got a lot of messages. Also, a lot of people, it was like a live thing, so like also reading people's comments as it's happening. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, like my family members were all really impressed, and I even got good feedback from his parents, my grandparents, who felt like I did a good job. And yeah, I mostly loved hearing the feedback from people who had very similar stories of like an absent father, and kind of like thank you for representing like the bravery, and like kind of having people relate to that was
Yeah.
really special.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that your father, that there is an opportunity for him in the next life, whether it's reincarnation or a heaven or a reset or whatever it can be. Because I genuinely do feel as I got to know of him, the older he got,
Hmm.
even though he was complicated and was, going through things, like I did see the growth in him, and I saw him, getting to a point of realization. And it's a horrible tragedy that he was taken early, where he maybe couldn't have fully kind of manifested where he was going to go. Um, yeah, yeah, there could have been a different life for you and him as you got older. We'll see.
Right. Well, what's crazy is, um, I think I told you guys, but his sister, so my aunt that I'm close with, ended up having her baby on his date of birth.
That's so crazy.
So
Love that.
that was really surreal.
Yeah, and yeah, his sister and I have talked offline over message a little bit. That's so exciting.
We're so happy for her.
She for a time was in my congregation. We weren't incredibly close, but yeah, it's interesting to see where she's at, kind of out. And yeah, one of these days, hopefully, we can chat on pod about her life as it is now.
I know, maybe in a little bit.
Obviously, she's got a handful right
Right.
now.
It's just crazy
Uh,
coincidence.
but yeah, maybe there is something there. You don't know. What are the odds of that exact date?
Hmm.
So as we kind of start to kind of close out, I did want to ask. It sounds like a lot of life for you was a lot of complications. And I think for everyone, even Trent and I at our age, your mom at her age, and our grandparents, my parents, like
Hmm.
life is full of complications at every level, and you're just hoping you're always growing. But can you kind of pinpoint um, some things in the past that you maybe battled with, both in terms of just identity, struggle,
Hmm.
maybe certain levels of abuse that you were, finally able to overcome?
When I was like 12 to 15, those were rough years. I was admitted into a couple hospitals for like suicidal ideation, mental health, self-harm. Always had anxiety and depression on both sides, so it's a daily battle. But yeah, the teenage years were not easy whatsoever. And as far as like trauma, I'm very fortunate to not have any like abusive trauma. Most, I would say maybe some emotional abuse, but yeah, very fortunate that my parents chose to give me a life that was very different than what they experienced. But yeah, I still struggle with like my daily,
Yeah.
everyday things. There's a lot of generational trauma. Maybe I wanted to talk about that a little bit, but just like
Yeah.
the effects of how it's hard to put into words now that I'm thinking about it, but there are long-lasting effects of like this religion that people aren't realizing that are like being passed down.
I mean, even loose affiliation, going to 50 meetings in your life,
Hmm.
will do this to you. This kind of trauma. It's
And
Hmm.
it's the people. You know, it's we I always say at work, like, you work for people, not a company. And it's like this religion or any religion or kind of following that you have, you're following these people.
Yeah.
And these people are going to either make or break. These people are going to either help, elevate you, or they're going to really put you in a bad place. I've known a little bit about your struggles when you were younger. What I will tell you is you're one of the most, I don't know, like genuine, authentic people that I've met. You
Hmm.
have this quietness about you, but when just like me and you, like when we're one on one, like we can go to town with some good conversations.
We can.
And most people may not see that, but because I'm pretty introverted as well. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's I would rather have a person of your character any day. So I'm glad that you were able to get over some of that stuff when you were younger.
Thank you. Yeah. I am pretty quiet, reserved. I feel like I'm kind of settling into my shell, but yeah, I can also have a good time for sure.
Yeah. Um, and then some of that stuff that you went through, obviously, we still have our daily struggles and whatnot. But do you feel like at the point you're at now, like where are you now? You said you were 25. Where are you at now in your life? Things that you're looking forward to, things as you reflect back on now that you kind of overcame. Like, where do you inhabit kind of the day to day and just who you are and where you're going?
I feel like the last 2 years have been really transformative for me. After my dad passed away, I kind of just was aimlessly living, but had a few hard things happen between friendships, roommates, whatever it is. I had a wonderful opportunity to go to Oregon and stay with Derek in 2023. And I do feel like that specific experience in my time that I spent there with you was very eye-opening for me, in a way of like how important it is to stay grounded and to like
Mm.
be in touch with um, nature for me is really big. So I try to still get back out there. And yeah, ever since that, I would say that was a pretty life-changing, transformative experience. And I've just moved forward with that. Um,
Oh, that's amazing.
I did feel um, very like touched and present by whatever forces in Oregon specifically. And I feel like ever since then, I've had like kind of protectors or people that are like alongside with me. So I find a lot of peace and
That's amazing. Yeah, I recommend Silver Falls to anyone. That's an experience I think everyone should have in their life. It's a shame it's not more known, but at the same time, I'm glad it's not.
right.
And I do have some fun memories of you trying to keep up with my old ass on the trail.
Yeah.
So
I was struggling. I was
you're like,
struggling from it.
wait,
But that
what are
was
we doing?
the specific moment I'm talking about was that hill climb. That was like so physically hard and
Mhm.
demanding, but the release that I got at the top of the mountain was like
Yeah,
cleansing. And like I felt that I was being protected
that's
there.
amazing. Yeah, I have a personal belief, like, gosh, you gotta reset out in nature as much as possible. This world, these cities we live in, these I don't feel like we were supposed to be disconnected from nature as we are.
Mhm.
So there's something about like it's this non-spoken misunderstood thing of just like getting back out in
I
nature
fully
can
agree.
really help your system, your nervous system, your body.
Okay.
Did you ever watch Clarkson's Farm? I think it is the Jeremy Clarkson show on is it HBO?
I did not watch it. If you recommend it, I purposely don't watch or listen to anything you recommend.
Well, I grew up like on a ranch, and we both grew up in Flagstaff, Arizona, which is like pine trees and beauty everywhere. But that show reignited my love for nature in a way because you're watching Jeremy Clarkson figure out life on a farm and fight with Mother Nature constantly.
Mm,
And it's just like such a beautiful up and down thing with the circle of life and just humanity at its best out in
Mm,
nature. It's a really good show. And
okay.
I've always had that sense of love of nature, man. We all have. I think it's a good thing for all
Add it
humans.
to the list. So, and then the last kind of question, is there anything maybe we touched on today, maybe you really wanted to just give a moment to, or even just a kind of a closing message that maybe people you would kind of hope that they kind of understand based on your life experience?
yeah. Well, again, I just wanted to thank you guys for having this safe space for I'm a fan of this podcast and love hearing everybody's stories, especially those of my family members. Um, but yeah, I also just want to enforce love, and all of this is coming from a place of love and understanding and no judgment. I still have, these people are present in my life and I care about them a lot. But yeah, I also think it is important to kind of share everybody's truth and the experiences and how they can be
Yeah.
damaging.
Well, we echo your feelings and sentiments of love.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah, we're
you.
so grateful to have you on and just be a part of this conversation and be a part of this community. We're thankful for it to grow. It seems like it is resonating with people. Um,
Hmm.
just everyone's been through their own kind of shit and their own kind of story and issues, and there's no comparison to this. We all uniquely have our own story based on what life we've lived. And I think it's really important the more and more we just kind of keep talking this stuff out. It's better when we can feel open or we can talk in kind of this environment. And I really do think there's many people that are just listening and are just like, man, there's other people that have been through stuff too. And
100%.
we're living, we're surviving, we're constantly a work in progress. We might take a step back, but we're going to take two steps forward, and we're going to keep moving forward. So again, we're really appreciative to have you on. We're so thankful for you. You're always welcome back on.
Thank you
And
guys.
yeah, we'll close out with that. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And
Have a good night.
we'll talk with you all soon.
Thank you for joining us on this journey in this era. If you found today's episode valuable, please share it with someone who might need it. Check the podcast description for our socials and other information.
Please consider supporting us at Patreon at patreon.com/culturepod. If you'd like to tell your story, please contact us at cult.ture.pod@gmail.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and stay free.